England, with the wind and the chill aside, at least we have sunshine and everything's on our side. My name is Michael Quijano West. I'm the superintendent here at Salem Maritime National Historic Site and Saugus Ironworks National Historic Site. And I'd like to thank you for being here with us and joining us today. It's a pleasure to see everybody here. And luckily we have good weather. We've been praying for this for the last week, that this would happen, so I'm very pleased. First of all, I'd like to thank all of our staff and wonderful volunteers who you see here around in various reenactment costumes and uniforms. They're all here to help us with this event today and what we're about to do. And I want to thank them, because without them, we would not be able to do all the different things that we do on a daily basis. I also like to thank all of our local elected officials, partners, alumni, and friends for all their well wishes and some for being here with us today. We are here today to celebrate the creation of Salem Maritime National Historic Site and National Historic Landmark, and I bring that up because we are not just a National Historic Site. Of all the National Historic Sites in New England under the National Park Service, only a handful of us are also National Historic Landmarks, and that only happens when you have the original site with the original pieces of history, like all the buildings and the wharf that you see behind us, and also personalities involved, like Nathaniel Hawthorne and the Scarlet Letters. And so all of that together is what creates a National Historic Landmark, and we are one of those sites because of all this history and importance, and one of the reasons why we are a National Park Unit. Although we have now been here for 75 years, I have been kind of interestingly astonished in all my meetings and dealings with folks throughout the area to know how few people actually know what makes up the site. So the site is everything from the lighthouse at the end of the wharf all the way back to the Narbonne House on Essex Street, and from the orientation center that you see here behind you, the building on my left, on your right, over in the corner there, all the way over to this corner, and the red brick building, the three-story building behind it, which is the old St. Joseph's Hall. Everything in this area, all these buildings, are all part of the National Historic Site and the National Historic Landmark. And included in here is also the Friendship of Salem. It's one of our only National Park Service tall ships. And in addition to everything here, we also have the Visitor Center downtown and Saugus Ironworks National Historic Site over in Saugus. So although we're relatively small as a national park unit, we have quite a few features and amount of land and buildings and structures at both locations. And it does take a lot to take care of all these beautiful features and the history that is here, and to do all the things that we do. And I want to thank all the staff for all the good job that they have done over all these years to do what you see on the ground right now. As one of the 398 national parks units across the country, we are here to protect, preserve, and allow for the public enjoyment thereof in perpetuity. And it is within this context that we are here to celebrate our 75th anniversary today. Education and Partnerships, Mr. Jonathan Parker, who is going to speak about the significance of the 75th anniversary today. Jonathan?
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me? I want to thank everyone for coming today, and my job as the Chief of Interpretation, Education, and Partnerships is to work with the staff that you see next to you to not only educate people about the park when they visit, but to what we call reveal meaning, to demonstrate why these places are important. And I want to just speak briefly on what the 75th anniversary means to all of us in the National Park Service. I stood on the very ground beneath your feet 12 hours ago and spent a quiet 15 minutes of contemplation, gazing around the site in all directions. admiring the stately stature of the Custom House, tracing the elegant lines of the Friendship's bowsprit, and squinting out into a dark Salem harbor, punctuated by a warm, incandescent glow on the opposite shore. I wanted to be here at the very chronological moment that all this began 75 years ago, to be standing in the park at the very instant the clock struck midnight, to experience the fateful moment when these wars were proverbially transformed from the willful wishes of the Salem citizenry into a tangible symbol of a nation that regarded its past with newly found reverence. With this reverence for the past also came a simultaneous expression of faith in the future, a faith that this first National Historic Site would stand, like its sister national parks, as a cherished place of learning, beauty, and meaning for the generations to come. The Historic Sites Act of 1935 had established the legal basis to set aside and protect this 9-acre site, but mere words do not transform a storied, tired waterfront into a park alone. A park depends on people to establish it, to protect it, and to espouse its values and meaning to one another. So what did the collection of men and women who lobbied for the protection of this place see and hear in the echoes of these buildings and wharves in 1938? As I stood here yesterday evening, at the stroke of midnight, I couldn't see or hear exactly what they encountered 75 years ago, but I felt it. The phrase that came to my mind as I thought about this feeling was genius loci, Latin for the spirit of place. When the Romans celebrated Dies Natalis, Latin for natal day, or as we know it, a birthday or an anniversary of a founding event, they recognized the occasion's implicit connection to the genius, the divine nature present in every person, place, or thing. In Roman belief, a human's powers and abilities were found in their soul, and their soul was representative of the presence of this spirit, known as the genius. Places, buildings, streets, temples, even individual homes also had a spirit, the genius loci. Here, in this place, it's easy to see the genius loci on a regular basis. All one needs to do is turn the corner onto Orange Street and walk forward a few humble steps before the masts of the Friendship punctuate the sky and draw your eyes downward to an almost whimsical maritime scene. That feeling of awe is the embodiment of genius loci, the great spirit of Salem Maritime National Historic Site. This is the spirit the site's founders felt when they lobbied for its creation 75 years ago. Former director of the National Park Service, Newton B. Drury, was fond of reminding his employees that national parks were not solely set aside to preserve scenic landscapes and historic places. He viewed these parks as uniquely suited in what he called ministering to the human spirit and mind. Your presence here today at this anniversary speaks to Salem Maritime's ability to speak to you and to your genius. Our challenge at the conclusion of today is to continue to look forward, just as the site's founders did, at the great potential for this place's future. We must endow the next generation with the genius loci of this place in order to shepherd the site towards its next anniversary, its centennial. Last fall, I had the privilege of spending 2 afternoons with our next generation of park stewards, also known as a group of 20 middle schoolers from the Nathaniel Bowditch School. I showed them around the park, taking them through the Custom House and handing them a key, explaining that this park was theirs as much as it was mine. They suddenly grew silent at this suggestion. Their widening eyes said it all. They never imagined they could be the shared owners of this historic place. Later in the afternoon, the superintendent and I conducted our own park ministry, as Director Drury might have said, on the second floor of the St. Joseph's Hall. The children sat with us in a circle, and we spoke at them at length about their lives and their impressions of the park. We then humbly asked each of these young park owners to give us suggestions on how we could better manage the park in the future. Without hesitation, the boy next to me quipped, "I'd like to see more humor in the park." And before I could respond, the next student replied, "Yeah, and more comedy." It was a stroke and a moment of genius. Thank you. Day is not over. We are having an open house here today until 4 o'clock. Almost all of our park buildings will be open, including the tall ship Friendship of Salem. And we would like to kick everything off by inviting you to warm up a bit, have some refreshments, have some cake, and those are going to be offered on the second floor of that brick building right across from the gray West India goods store on the second floor. You go right through that front door and make your way upstairs. Before we kick off the day with cake, we would like to invite all of you, Park Service, public, alumni, to join us for a photograph to commemorate this day. And we'd like you to make your way over towards the beach. That gentleman in the black hoodie is right about where you want to go. So if you can go over to him, we're going to recreate a groundbreaking photo here from the 1930s. Thank you for coming.
Good. Wait. One more good shot here. Great. Wonderful.
Yes, right here.
Better ones over there. What? Better cake. Just Walker.
Wonderful.
Please dig in and enjoy both.
Ready?
Go ahead, yeah.
Hi, my name is Rosemary and I'm a volunteer with the National Park Service at the Salem Maritime
So
site.
these are the buildings that.
And we have
This
a
one,
postage cancellation stamp in honor of the 75th anniversary of the Salem Maritime site.
and then this
So
one.
I'm going to cancel the stamps on these postcards.
This is an official U.S. Postal Service.
Ranger and give you your badge, and you can go out.
This is like the
Oops.
third or fourth magic.
Is it, all right, and this is our brand new badge. We just had a new one made.
hope it comes
with a
out.
seal on it, made from the one.
Ta-da!
at Custom House.
There you
Get
go.
ready to take your pledge. Raise your right hand.
This is a little view of Custis House, Daniel Hawthorne's desk.
Are the upper floors open today? Thank you.
There's a ranger up there.
Remember I was here.
Top of a building.
Pretty intimidating.
Mr. and Mrs. Derby, I presume?
Of course. How may we help you?
Well, we had a master class about the history of your house last week, but we never got to go in.
Oh, well, here you are. So you can see that this is one of our two formal parlors, and we move back and forth between the parlors depending on the light, the time of day, the heat. Once it gets cool enough, we may light a fire in here, and that means we'll probably be here for most of the rest of the evening. We'll set up dinner and then clear afterwards and perhaps have tea afterwards. And you probably saw the bed chambers upstairs. We haven't quite got the beds back together yet. They're enough to actually sleep in, but since we've only just returned from having left Salem after the burning of Charlestown. That was a dreadfully frightening moment. You could actually see over Marblehead the glow of the fires in Charlestown. And we were all very concerned that we might have a British frigate or man of war come into the harbor, and although the harbor is too shallow for them to come up very close, they could still, from the mouth of the harbor, at least reach this end of town with their great guns. So many of the families who lived at this end of town fled, and we actually went to near Amesbury for almost a year and a half. And so we've only just returned. I took the advantage of having the house painted while we were away, so you'll see all fresh new colors. I am hoping that Mr. Derby can capture a nice fat prize that has some good English wallpaper on it, so I can get a nice cut rate and perhaps get some wallpaper on the walls at some point.
Yes, of course. I will engage Mr. Crowninshield and make sure that he attacks British ships that would perhaps hold the promise of pretty wallpaper.
Excellent, and perhaps some good chintz
We'll
too.
spend many lives in the effort.
Well, thank you very much.
You are very.
The house was just recently done and painted
Mm-hmm.
and then vandalized, and that's how we came about with the colors.
All right, we're having holidays at your house.
Right.
Do this real quick. We're just going to go up and we're going to come back down. So what I'm going to say is ready on the halyard. You're going to say ready out. All the way on the halyard. What you can do, hand over hand, start hauling. Hold your halyard. You stop, hold. Ease your halyard. Hand over hand.
Ready?
All the way on your halyard. You can drop the floor and just falling. You guys are falling. Is it back falling? You might have to help us. We'll roll.
Well, me, it's on.
Really? I thought it was,
I always thought that they were recruited and expected, and
yeah.
I actually thought he didn't come out and say how terrible it was. They really went on. No, we're not, so careful like we do the way. This is just a billet that's put up there, and you take it unless I guess you make a real ass.
Ah.
So they're not all happy campers. I always assumed that.
Yeah, so did I. I know some of them didn't want to be here.
Okay. Now this is on the Constitution.
Alright. This is the halyard, and what the halyard does, I'm going to walk in front of your camera for a minute. We're going to go straight up and down. I can get, oh, okay. Young man, do you want to help load cargo? Alright, so what we're going to do is this. Stand in there, your feet are shoulder width apart. Those are all facing. And I haven't talked to them about that, but that's it's connected to our cargo net, which is loading cargo. The cargo we're bringing on board are barrels and sacks. We have barrels that could have salted cod, it could have molasses, it could have rum, it could have anything else liquid in it. We also have sacks. The sacks might be holding rice or anything like that, would work out. Tea, things like that, in the sack. So what we're going to do is we're going to haul it up, and then normally we're going to bring it on deck, but we don't have enough people. We're just going to go up and come back down. It's going to do it one time to be warmer. So let's get this started. So we're going to say ready on the halyard, you're going to say ready on. Ready on the halyard.
Ready on.
You're going to take the halyard in your hands. When I say haul away, both hands, thumbs are pointing that way. You're going to glue your feet to the deck the way I had them. Shoulder width apart. When I say haul away, hand over hand, you're going to start hauling. Let's try that. Haul away on the halyard. Hold the halyard, you stop. Ease the halyard, hand over hand. Don't let it slide through. Excellent. Okay, you're going to do it. Ready on the halyard. Ready on the halyard?
Ready on.
Louder. Ready on the halyard?
Ready on.
All the way on your halyard. Keep your hands loose. Oh, you're a little short. Yeah, that's okay. Keep hauling. Keep hauling. And the heavier, keep your feet the way I said. Don't turn your feet. There you go. Keep hauling. You want to sing?
We'll roll the old chariot along. We'll roll the old chariot along.
Oh!
We'll
Oh!
roll and we'll all hang on behind. When the fires go, we know it's
Hold your halyard. Ready to use the halyard. Ready on the halyard? Say ready on. Ease your halyard. There you go, hand over hand. Keep easing it down. We're going to go all the way down.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. You killed the gun. You never used it. Yeah.
Don't let it slide through your hand. That's all on your halyard. Then you want to grab the end of that, scoop it up. As he comes by, he's going to take it from you, and